What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. So Donald Trump calls for the death penalty of American military personnel. That's reminding active duty soldiers who took the oath to the Constitution, not an oath to a dictator, not an oath to a president, not an oath to authoritarian, not an oath to rich millionaires and billionaires, but an oath to the Constitution, that thing that the neo-Nazi administration, the current leader of the neo-Nazi Schnitzelwinkel administration, Fourth Reich. All right, that guy, he don't respect the Constitution. He's been stamping on the Constitution this entire time. Right? The veterans, these people that got more accomplishments in their pinky finger than Donald Trump has in his entire life. All right, these consummate professionals are reminding the troops who are active duty right now that they do not have to follow unlawful orders. And I know how hard it can be, as a former United States Marine veteran. I understand that the military, within the military, it's not a democracy. It is an authoritarian institution. The person above you tells you what to do. He's an authoritarian to you, and that's just how it works. All right. So for real, it's up to them staff NCOs to make the stand. When you raised your right hand and you said both foreign and domestic, when you did that, all right, this is the moment. This is the moment right here where you need to honor that. This is it. It don't matter if you're a Republican and you're a conservative. It don't matter, because when you joined the military, you took the oath to bypass all that for the structure and for the stability of this nation. This is the moment right here where you're going to have to put action to the words that came out your mouth. Because I want you to understand this. There will be consequences later for anybody that participates in unlawful action. And it doesn't matter if you say that you were following orders, because the orders you were following were illegal. Therefore, you did something illegal. If your higher ups tell you to do something that you know is against the Constitution, you don't have to do it. And if they threaten you with non-judiciary punishment, well, you need to be that soldier. You need to be that Marine. You need to be that airman. You need to be that true sailor. And you need to stand 10 toes down for the Constitution and deal with it. And I guarantee you, if you stay righteous, America, right? Those veterans, those generals, those colonels, your congressmen will have your back. All right. But yes, we have a president of the United States that's threatening the death penalty. Y'all, you can't make this shit up. Everything that we accuse other third world nations of doing is happening right now in this supposed first world, most advanced, richest nation in the world. They seem to got everything together. All right. But our troops, I have all confidence that our troops, even our right-wing Christian conservative troops from Utah, Mississippi, that's in the Marine Corps and the Army and Navy, I feel like when they took that oath, I feel like they associate with various different other Americans from around America, and they should have empathy by now because they work with these people who are different from them, and they should have learned and progressed and know that the reason why you're in the military is so that we can have political discourse, and so that we can say what we want to say, and so that we can have a structure in a country we can be proud of, and that we can argue as civilians back and forth about our political ideologies, and that we know that our military will not take sides no matter what, that they will follow the Constitution and not follow a leader. All right. So I have confidence that our troops will do the same, because the thing is, what people don't realize is our troops, as this neo-Nazi administration has been trying to make the Fourth Reich military, right? He's been messing with hair standards, because he knows African Americans have issues with bumps and razor bumps. They've been trying to purge out all POCs and black people from the military. But here's the problem, and this is what I know to be a fact. There's not enough fit white American men in America to fill up America's military, period. There hasn't been enough fit, qualified white men in decades. That's why the military is filled with black people, Spanish people, Asian people, everybody else. That's why the military is filled with people who come to America and want citizenship, but they're from another country. Because America doesn't have enough white boys to do it. That's why you see all these oath keepers, all these little clubs. These are all the fat, out of shape white boys who don't qualify for the military. So they go and they make their own little their little clubs because they can't live out their dream because they're fat and they're out of shape and they can't run. They can't do a pull-up or a push-up, but they can pull a trigger. So they go out in the woods and they practice with their fat asses, getting ready for the war that they're trying to conjure up. All right? There's not enough of right-wing Christian, racist, adjacent white men in this country to join the military or the police service in order to wield America into some neo-Nazi authoritarianism. Right? Plus, all of those fat asses join the goddamn ICE to go try to terrorize Mexicans. They can't be in ICE and the military at the same time. All right? So, yeah, Donald Trump, it's time for us to evoke the 25th Amendment. It's time for us to go ahead and impeach Donald Trump and go ahead and go ahead and impeach J.D. Vance while we're at it because he's a complicit. And we need to eliminate and purge this entire administration, rescrub, retool, relearn ourselves, do some self-reflecting, and we need to elect competent politicians, period. That's it. Whether they agree with their ideas or not, we need to elect regular, normal, competent politicians. All right? Anyway, y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach them. I'm out.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard.
And that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
The Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
And who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
don't give up.
don't give up the ship.
Donald Trump's calling for the arrest, trial, and execution of Democratic lawmakers who all are veterans, posted a video reminding active duty service members they took an oath to the country and that they are required to refuse any unlawful order. And Donald Trump's upset about this. Now, I'm not going to say this is Donald Trump being Donald Trump, but the context of how Donald Trump came to this is important because all day yesterday, conservative media spouted off the same garbage. You can find a half a dozen or more clips from conservative news hosts across all different media organizations saying the same thing. So Donald Trump just happened to be watching these clips or the news last night or this morning, and then he said, that sounds like a good idea. And then he just went on retweeting things that just made the situation worse. Like he calling for them to be hung like George Washington would do. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So our sitting president is calling for the arrest, trial, and execution of political opponents. That's not something we should ignore. All I wanted to do is give you context of how Donald Trump came to the conclusion that this should happen. And that came from talking heads on the right. The people who are actively trying to divide this country and are actively manipulating our president.
Donald Trump just called for veterans to be arrested and even reposted a comment saying they should be unalived for simply telling the military to refuse unlawful orders. He posted this article from the Washington Examiner saying Democratic veterans in Congress urge service members to refuse unspecified unlawful orders. And he says this is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors, lock them up, President Donald J. Trump. And here's a comment that he reposted saying, unalive them, George Washington would. This other one says domestic terrorist Democrats always causing chaos and destruction, destroying people's lives. And this guy says if they don't follow orders, they should be fired. I don't think that's how the military oath works. These veterans pointed out that Trump has openly floated illegal actions many times in the past. They gave examples too, like shooting protesters in the leg and deploying troops to polling stations. They warned troops to follow the Constitution, the UCMJ, and the law of war. And Trump is calling them traitors, saying their words can't be allowed to stand, saying they should go to jail, and even amplifying comments calling for them to be unalived. This is one of the clearest examples yet of how authoritarian this movement has become, and there is no excuse for supporting it.
Trump is now calling for the death penalty of our representatives, all for saying, hey, if you're in the military, you can refuse unlawful orders. Like, seriously, that's the truth, or tweet, whatever you're going to call it. Not only that, he's re-truthing the same sentiment from people with white supremacy profile pictures. Because, yeah, that's a Knights Templar cross, which is a common white supremacy dog whistle. But this is probably the distraction from the Epstein list, because he's going to, all of his dirty laundry is going to be aired here soon. And military members are absolutely required to refuse unlawful orders like that. We swore an oath to the Constitution, not to a president. I took my oath almost 20 years ago, and I know it hasn't changed.
And Bronze Star recipient, thank you very much, Congressman, for joining us today. You see some of the pushback to this video when some look at it and say, you know, if you are in the United States military, you sign up, you carry out the mission that is assigned to you. You know, the other option is to not join the military or to leave if you feel that you can't carry out an order. But the command is just an integral part of what you sign up for, which you know way better than I do, and I thank you for your service. So, Congressman, thank you for being here. Why did you participate in this video?
Martha, we're standing by our troops, our service members who are often put in very difficult positions, and Donald Trump has put them in very difficult positions and has alluded to putting them in even more difficult positions in the months and years ahead. So we are reminding folks about what the Uniform Code of Military Justice says, what the Constitution says, what the law of war says. You know, this is really no different than what I did with my infantry platoon in advance of deploying to Iraq in 2003. I trained these young soldiers on their obligation to comply with the law of war, to comply with the Constitution. And what is a lawful versus a unlawful order?
What law are you talking about that's being broken? And then you said that he's implying that he might do something that they wouldn't want to uphold or follow through with in the future. What are you talking about specifically?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. Well, number one, the protests at Lafayette Square in the first Trump administration where he said, can't you just shoot them? Can't you just shoot them in the legs or something? That's a direct quote. And of course, the then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
That was not a military order. That was a comment. That's not a military order.
When that's coming from the President of the United States to your generals, don't you think that's a request?
I'm asking specifically right now what you're talking about.
Yeah, number two, he's also threatened to send the military into Chicago and other cities to, quote, go to war with those cities. Right? That is a very, very disturbing thing. Number three, he's also alluded to sending troops to polling stations, which is actually a violation of U.S. law. U.S. criminal law prohibits troops from going to polling stations, and he's alluded to that. So those are just one of many examples.
You're talking about allusions. You're not talking about actual policy. You're not talking about things that our members of our service members who we revere and respect are actually being asked to do. So when you see this video on all over the place, when you see this video on social media, I think a lot of people scratch their heads and they say, what exactly are they talking about? Are they talking about not allowing gunboats to make it to the United States carrying drugs? Is that what you're talking about?
Martha, here's a novel idea. How about we actually prevent things from happening before they become a problem?
I think that's what they're trying to do.
What you're saying is we have to wait until there's a problem to respond to that problem.
No, I'm not.
Right? As a military officer, what I think is important is we train people, we give them information, we prepare people for challenges coming down the pike. That is what I did as a commander in the military. That's what I'm doing now. As we are standing by our troops, we are reminding them of their obligation.
From the commander-in-chief that we are asking our military to carry out are you objecting to? This is very, very vague. And it was so vague in this video, I don't think people could figure out what you guys were all talking about, honestly.
Martha, Donald Trump has made a series of very disturbing comments and suggestions that would violate U.S. law and put our military in terrible positions.
Again, we're getting nowhere because you're not talking about an order.
I don't want to wait until that happens to remind our troops of their obligation, because then it'll be too late. We are standing by our troops and our amazing men and women in uniform to remind them
who sign up every day as you did to carry out the orders of the commander-in-chief. We are not engaged in new wars. We have no troops on the ground in Ukraine except some who were training pilot missions, not on any front lines of any kind. In the Caribbean right now, we've sent a carrier there. I thought these were the specific operations that are actually happening that you might be referring to. But we've created a huge presence in the Caribbean to stop fentanyl deaths, of which there were more than 48,000 plus in the last year alone. And the president doesn't want those drugs to make it to the United States. But you're not talking about any of these actual actions that have been carried out by the commander-in-chief and by the Department of Defense?
First of all, that is a separate issue. We are not talking about Venezuela at all in this video. We never mentioned it once.
Yeah, I don't know.
But since you raised it, I actually am deeply concerned. We spent $3 trillion, 7,000 U.S. lives, hundreds of thousands of other lives in endless wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. They ended extremely poorly because we stopped debating it. We stopped paying for it.
Yep.
We stopped
the
being
prior
held accountable for it.
Yeah.
Well, that was Republicans.
I don't remember
and
you making a
Democrats.
video about that at the time.
Actually, you should look it up. I did make videos about it, as a matter of fact. I pushed back on Joe Biden. I pushed back on Donald Trump. I pushed back on Barack Obama. I pushed back on George W. Bush, because I had to fight those wars.
But at least that was something specific.
And I am thinking very clearly about the men and women who are being put in positions that, once again, without congressional authorization, without public debate, to do the same thing. Have we learned nothing about the last 25 years of war and endless conflict?
I think that what this president has said is that he has not taken us to war, that he wants to prevent war, that he wants to extract us from situations where we've said from the beginning that we won't have any boots on the ground
bombing
in Ukraine.
Iran,
So I think it's a
bombing
little
the Houthis, bombing boats in the Caribbean. This president
So we
doesn't see
aided
a problem.
a mission by Israel in
Iran.
Iran. Did you have a problem with taking out Iranian nuclear facilities?
We've seen more conflict and more use in the military in the first 11 months of this administration than we have in any administration. What needs to happen is they need to come to Congress, and we need to debate this. And for him to say there's no new war, that's exactly the problem, because only Congress can declare a war. Only Congress, according to our Constitution, has the authority to send our men and women
into conflict. We understand the War Powers
conflict.
Act. We know how it works.
Well, apparently you don't, because you're saying
that's not
that
true.
no war exists, so it's not a problem. The United States Congress is the one that has to make that
specifically
decision.
what your issue is. And so for prominent members of the United States Congress to tell young men and women of the military that they should not abide by illegal orders, and to leave it so vague, and to talk about comments that have been made in the past and what they might lead to, I think could potentially be very confusing for young men and women who have committed to service, which you honorably did, and I commend you for the sacrifice that you made. Let me just show you this. This is Senator Eric Schmidt.
Donald Trump posted on Truth Social that they wanted to arrest the Democrats who spoke out, the military leaders who spoke out, telling other military officials to uphold their oath to the Constitution and don't follow unlawful orders if need be, which is a part of the reason why we have checks and balances, so fascists don't take over. Oh, but then there's this one comment here from Truth Social, with the little cross there. Lord have mercy. They're talking about hanging them while there's a child predator in the White House. Make everything make sense, please, somebody.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.